ChatGPT just announced the biggest update of the year. You're not going to believe it. You can now build your very own custom GPTs. Not only that, but it combines all the previous models, the web, the photos, the code, into one distinct model, meaning it does everything. But the best part is these GPTs can now interact with the real world, meaning you can have your own personal secretary GPT that actually can respond to your emails, respond to DMs, and even organize your entire calendar. Or you can have a GPT that analyzes the stock market and places trades for you. In this video, I will walk you through step by step how to build your own custom GPT. We have so much to unpack. I'm absolutely psyched. Let's dive right in. You can see here as we open up the dashboard that ChatGPT already is looking quite different. There are all these extra icons here to the left. Now, the way that you go ahead and create another GPT is by going to hit Explore. You can see all these other GPTs here. And what you do is you hit Create a GPT, obviously. And now this is where we actually are introduced for the first time to our GPT builder. This is essentially GPT being used to build GPT. And I think this is part of the reason why in a few years from now, programming will be obsolete for the most part, because now what you're seeing here is being able to program in plain text English. Say something like make a creative who helps generate visuals for a new product, or make a software engineer who helps format my code. What would you like me to make? Well, why don't we make a GPT? I want a GPT that specializes in cold emailing. So now we're actually beginning to customize our GPT, and you can see how it begins updating here. So now it's asking me if I'd like to name it Cold Emails Craftsman. Sure. Okay, and it made something kind of cool. What's really cool about this is that you can program exactly what you want into the parameters of this GPT model, and then you can go back to the GPT and talk to it with the same settings in place. I know we had custom instructions before, but the chatbot never really took it that seriously. And so now we have an actual way to go into the brain of the GPT and have it be configured exactly how we like. So we're gonna do that right now. The best way to configure it exactly how you'd like to configure it is by going here. You have the custom instructions, and now these custom instructions will allow us to get even more specific. So I could say something like, want you to use the Tim Ferriss cold email technique. So essentially with this email idea that I'm using ChatGPT for, I want ChatGPT to research very in-depthly about the person I'm trying to cold email. Tim Ferriss, if you're familiar with his book, The 4-Hour Workweek, he talks about how to guarantee a response. And he says that in order to do so, you must specify a very detailed and a concise question. A question that arouses the person's enthusiasm and sparks their curiosity. So that's exactly what we're trying to program this chatbot to do for us. We're gonna have ChatGPT go read everything it can on the person, something that would take many, many hours on my part, and then have ChatGPT construct a very specific question, integrate that all into the email, make it sound personal. So now that we have some basic programming here, what you're going to do, now you have this other option, which is conversation starters. And this is kind of cool. So we can say, write an email using Tim Ferriss's template, make it very concise. So you can have these conversation starters, and this is obviously, as you can see, these configure what's being said over here. But even more interesting now is this button knowledge, what we can upload. This, I think, is probably one of the coolest features that the custom GPTs allow us to do now. We can update and customize their brain. So previously the GPT would only have access to everything it was trained upon, but now we can give it even more training data, sometimes even personal information that it can be trained off of. Say I have a lot of company data that I want to use for my sales calls and my sales pitches in a couple weeks. Now that data is all internal, but essentially what we can do is bring that internal data into the internal membrane of ChatGPT and then have it build off of it, which is super cool. So what I'm gonna upload here is Tim Ferriss's book, The 4-Hour Workweek. Now you can see there are different capabilities that you can adjust and add, such as the code interpreter, the DALL-E image generation, and the web browsing, which is cool because now it's all in one GPT, whereas before it had separate GPTs for these features. Now there's a last hidden button that's pretty cool, which is create new action. And now I'm gonna show you how to do this a little bit later, but this is essentially where we're gonna be able to have this GPT interact with the real world, so to speak, and have it send out the emails, have it customize my calendar, have it do a slew of other amazing things. Now, in order to begin messing with this GPT, you can see on the right, we have a preview of it. and we can actually begin playing and say, okay, let's write an email using Tim Ferriss's template and make it concise. You can see now how it's actually searching the database of Tim Ferriss's book. Actually stop searching, which is kind of weird. So sometimes you have to be a little finicky with it. Look, so it was able to actually write out the template, which is super cool. It went through the entire book and found it and then wrote it out, which is amazing. But what I would like for this model is that the GPT would prompt me as to what is needed to fill out this email. So here you can see there's specific detail about work, specific field or project I'm genuinely interested in. And this is all around a really good cold email template, by the way. So what I can do is say, okay, please prompt the user and ask him these questions. Okay, so now what you can see here is I'm using ChatGPT to write a specific question that would pique the cold email recipient's interest. And in many cases, I don't actually care about the answer to the question. I just more want to establish a connection. And since GPT has done the due diligence and all the homework of finding out what kind of question would most likely interest the person I'm trying to email, then ChatGPT can get a little creative with how it's going to craft a specific question. So here I'm going to click update, and you can see how it starts updating the GPT model. And it's actually changing the genetic structure, if you will, not really, but obviously, the synthetic neurons of the GPT in order that it would best suit my questions here. Here you can see it's updated. So it understands now what we're trying to do, and I'm gonna click add. This is super cool. In terms of personalization, it's asking how it would like this GPT to actually interact with us, which is awesome, which means we can have it talk to us in any way we like. Look at it go. What a beautiful, good GPT. Very good GPT. Good job. So now as that's cooking up, we can begin crafting our emails. Okay. Say thank you, because you know what? You never know when these things are going to become sentient, and then they'll remember how you treated them. Anyway, now we can actually try to practice this sucker. I'm gonna hit save, and now here we have it. And now we can have it actually write an email. So who should we try? Write an email to Mark Cuban. Give me 3 versions. Now we're gonna have our first test of our model. As we keep going along, we can continue fine-tuning the model with surgical-like precision to make sure it's exactly how we want. Okay. So now you can see it's actually writing out the emails. There we go. So
It appears GPT's resources have been exhausted. I apologize, I think we're gonna have to stop the video here. But I hope this gives you an understanding of the power that we now have available to us with the GPTs. Thank you so much for watching, and smash the like button. Have a great rest of your day.